Marvel's Avengers is a unique game. Usually I swear at some gems that accompany the launch of the game on my computer. It doesn't start, it crashes, it lags or something else. Here the situation is somewhat different. The Avengers managed to put out the 5th PlayStation. Moreover, they have a version for the PS5. I launched it, played it for an hour, at first the sound began to slaughter, and after a while the clarion iron just took it and passed out. I also understand all sorts of problems with games on computers. This is such a platform where if you don't sit on a bottle you won't launch the game, but on PlayStation 5 how could you optimize the game like this? Out of harm's way I went to go through it on a computer, because a review worth 20,000 hryvnia is a bit too much. Well, on the computer the game has already surprisingly started working without any significant gems. There were problems, but not significant ones, and therefore we went to launch the game and look for what was wrong with it. And the game met me even before the start with an interesting choice of interface language. Instead of waiting for me to select the one I need, it refreshes the page after each change, and I have to look for the item responsible for changing the language on a new one. But when the language on the interface is Chinese, it's become a little harder to dig out the menu item I need. An expensive AAA game starts with a static picture, which due to the movement of the camera and a couple of effects in the background makes it look like it's dynamic with voiceover in the background. Kevin Feige clearly bypassed this game, and they also spoiled at the very beginning the costume and abilities of the main character showing the end of the game, so that after the shit moving pictures jump to the very beginning to show how it all started. And yes, in the game called The Avengers, the main character is some kind of left girl for whom you don't want to play at all when there are playable Avengers nearby. They would have called the game Kamala Khan and her friends, but to be honest.
It's so beautiful.
Why call it the Golden Gate Bridge if it's not golden?
I live billions of light years from San Francisco and I know why it's called that way, and the man who lives right there asks such silly questions.
Make sure to check out our comic scavenger hunt. Collect all 5 and get access to the VIP balcony. Once you've collected them all, just scan your phone at the elevator and you're golden. Have fun!
Don't you have enough comic books?
Grandpa, this girl just said clearly that these comics give you the opportunity to enter the VIP box, so why this misunderstanding? Running in slow-mo. If someone does not know how to meet a girl passing by, this guy can give a couple of tips.
Ah, darn.
Are you okay?
No, I already got this comic.
I didn't check it from my own experience, but I am sure that they will bang. Thor flew in a rather loud and attention-grabbing way, but none of the hundreds of fans ran up to touch him at all. And why? Because it's not Chris Hemsworth. Why touch a guy if it isn't Hemsworth? Only if it's Hiddleston.
Sam, or if she...
Feminism.
That's those scientists.
Those same scientists from the TV. Well, those scientists that no one has ever seen in the frame and that we see now for the first time in the game.
I'm sorry.
This content should only be for the real fans.
Fully nerds. Now I have seen everything.
And the mob. And the press. And the whole world tell you to move. You plant yourself like a tree beside the river of truth. And you say no.
References are cool. I love references.
I'm guessing you're a Captain Marvel fan.
In other words, a future radical feminist. That's it. The girl is lost. Bring another.
You're Captain America.
And you are Captain Obvious.
Kamala. Kamala Khan.
Khan.
The Avengers could afford to build a healthy flying ship, fancy suits, a robot with artificial intelligence, but they didn't have enough money to buy phones for themselves so that they could call a member of your team if he gets lost somewhere.
That was Captain America. And Black Widow.
Kamala seems to be their only fan out of these fuckers who didn't even turn their heads on those two. Put a life-threatening stray in a place where a bunch of children walk around, who love to touch everything around with their sticky hands. This is the security system of the Avengers. A little more and they will reach Oscorp.
We're also unveiling new clean measures called territory.
A source of clean energy from which the whole story will spin. Somewhere I have already seen this. By the way, the presentation of a source of clean energy is just what you needed for little kids who come to go as superheroes. And yes, this is another Stark invention that was used by villains for their malicious purposes. When they have learned. After the glorious axe throwing from God of War, Mjolnir local throwing looked like a cheap parody. That whole introductory missions with the Battle of the Bridge with the constant switches of heroes from one to another, which is endless, the developers boasted all of the sorts of presentation, is the only mission of such high quality and cool choreographed in entire game. In the future we will simply run around the location and trash opponents on it.
Taskmaster.
The name Taskmaster is all we learn about this villain in the game. Who is he? Why did he come here? What is his motivation? Why is he doing all of this? And where did he go after these introductory missions? We will not know. He appears and disappears without a trace.
We need to get that detonator.
They couldn't give it to a person from the crowd.
I've learned a few tricks since we last met.
What kind of meeting? What are you talking about in general? I see you for the first time in my life. What kind of cripple writing this script? Who introduced the character into a story like that? I must admit, the creators of Lara Croft have not lost their skills of drawing female butts. This is, if anyone did not know, is the only reason Natasha is the Avenger team.
The world will remember this day. The day their hero failed them.
Sokovia, incarnate by Thanos, New York ravaged by an alien invasion. The world, it seems to me, is already used to the fact that the Avengers constantly let them down. That's why it was such an idiotic idea to bring the explosive into the children exhibition. Another screensaver made up of static images pretending to be a voice-over video in a big budget AAA game.
Their activities outlawed.
The director of this cutscene should be outlawed. What is this bandage on his eye holding on to? What to do if some dude from the forum throws a link and says that you need to download its content? Well, of course download this incomprehensive file and install on your computer. What can go wrong?
The girls are leaving for the mosque retreat in a couple of hours. It's still not too late to...
If this camp is not located in the Twin Towers and we will not get to it on unmanned aircraft, then I refuse to go there.
Best of all, no boys, so lots of fun. I love you, Beta.
I love you more.
It's good that I'm lesbian. The great genius Tony Stark, having a big and smart brains, put a password on his site with the secret data I am Iron Man.
Really? Thought I changed that.
This is half a vicious infection on a computer looks like, according to the version of this game. Kamala, by the way, is already a superhero. Nobody showed her transformation, how she used to her powers and lord tricks to. In the last frame she's ordinary, glowing, and now she is already a superwoman. Slap screenwriter with a cock, please, I beg. There is no damage in the game when falling from a great height. What are you afraid of? She is definitely not visible now.
It's been too long.
One of the main characters of the Avengers died at the beginning of the game, and after watching the entire MCU, I can safely assume that this is another Marvel fake death. And by the way, the monuments of the characters who were outlawed have not been demolished in 4 years.
Are you paying your respects? I'm just... So you want him back, huh?
Captain America logo on his t-shirt. Why are these questions?
Zach, check out her bag.
Zach managed to check out the back on Kamala's back while looking at her from front. A Marvel villain wouldn't be a Marvel villain if he didn't ominously sit in the shadows. Kamala calls her father to tell him that she went to the camp to be looked for elsewhere, but did not think that if they are looking for her, then tracking the call and finding out at least her approximate location from AIM should not be a problem.
Is this a good sign or a bad one?
I see you can't read at all.
No way. Chimera.
The one that drowned in the river in New Jersey and the beginning of the game and now somehow moved out to Utah. As in most other modern games, in this game you can put on different gear on the character, thereby improving his characteristics. And everything would be fine, that just all this gear that we put on is visible. Imagine how cool it would be if each superhero could be dressed up in a different armor and given different weapons in their hands. This is especially true in the cooperative game, which it is. You can generally change costumes, but only from prepared set, which is cool but not so much. And by the way, no one will tell us what kind of super bracelet is on Kamala's hand. As far as I understood, this scene was supposed to be hilariously funny, otherwise why stretch this scene so long but no emotions, except for not understanding why it taking so long.
Are you wearing that communications bud I gave you?
When, where and under what circumstances Bruce gave Kamala a communicator and what kind of communicator this is, of course they will not show us.
So what does Jarvis actually look like?
Like an outdated hard drive from 1998?
Okay, new question. What does a 1998 hard drive look like?
I haven't seen with my own eyes what a 98 hard drive looks like, but if it is, then it looks exactly like a modern hard drive, which is now stuck in my computer. What was this clarification?
This is where I evolved!
And who you were before you was born again, of course, they will not tell us. Another character who pretends that we all should already know him very well. I have feeling that in some places they decided to make the game right from the sequel. An unusual way of approaching a computer. Equipment, the one that invisible can be put before the task, any that we have, but Kamala didn't think of putting on some kind of jacket and pants more authentically when heading to frosty tundra. Bullshit, we need to stand in the area of this blue circle until the scale reaches 100. Hello, capture the flags from the battlefield. And there will be a huge number of such tasks, at least in the main company. Went to the one point, defend it, went to another point, to the third, and so on. Well, in fact, this can be considered as cleaning the waves of opponent until the time runs out, so I will give an additional scene. My serious perception of this game immediately stopped at this antennae. That's it. I can take anything seriously now. Thanks, mustache. After about 2 hours of playing, we were forced to go to the training room to learn the techniques that we have been using for 2 hours now. Well, that is, the airman has different blows, but the buttons, as it were, need to press all the same.
So Tony Stark... The Tony Stark lives here?
You people know, but this is exactly what happens to the actors after they leave the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The entire first part of the game consists of searching for each member of the Avengers individually, and this is purely my opinion, but it would be much cooler if the story immediately began with Kamala and we did not meet any of the Avengers until we found each one separately. And then every time we would find each, the sensations would be a little more pleasant. But it's my thought. You can safely send me to the fuck. Actually, I feel it has already been done in the comments.
My dad shot the wolf, but it was too late. Darwin had been torn to pieces.
We need him.
You need him so much that he will not appear in the game again, at least in the main storyline. The great genius and also a mechanic Tony Stark touches broken and sparkling wires with his bare hands.
Whoa. Hey! Sorry? You should have knocked.
I was hoping to see naked teenager, don't judge me harshly. I lived in the forest for 5 years, so what do you want?
Really?
Yeah. Oh, and if Bruce says anything, just remind him that all he wears are super stretchy shorts.
And also an infinite number of identical purple shorts.
Do it, Goose, and play something fast.
Having such an awesome opportunity to make a reference to the first film and turn on Back in Black, the developers took it and did not make such an awesome reference. But the music is still good, but very quiet.
Glad to see that flattery upgrade kicked in.
The flattery update has loaded, but the high-res textures are in no hurry to follow it. Comrades from the Shield will not be able to do without Tony's help with collecting the rubbish from locations, activating their abilities, defeating the enemy in a certain way, overcoming opponents for a certain amount of time, and so on. These are very important assignments that the hell the Shield need for me. Just like many other characters, Iron Man has the ability to become big, which is his case means getting into the Hulkbuster armor. But instead of calling this armor so that it falls from the sky and Tony puts it on beautifully like in a movie, here it just appears around him like a hologram. A 2020 SSD enabled game that should have fast loads has long-lived elevators as load substitutes, and I naively hope that these elevators died along with Mass Effect. And even with such long elevator loads, some textures still do not have time to load. It took the game a full 30 seconds to trigger a cutscene after the last defeated enemy. You can immediately see that it was not vain that I bought an SSD. If Bruce's endless purple shorts can be somehow justified, then this is where he constantly finds these jackets after the transformations I could not understand. No, seriously, in this frame you can clearly see how it appears from thin air.
Am I alone?
I'm behind you, you fool.
Kid and an old guy.
Old man? Not a single grey hair on his head, he looks no more than 40. What's up with your eyesight, man? Destroying some kind of oscillator, amplifier or any other such garbage, this is another common mechanic in this game. So common that I am not sure if there was even one quest without it.
I'm a polymorph.
You're inhuman.
And you are not? What a stupid question for a person in a place made up mostly of non-humans.
Yeah. So what's your name?
Dante.
What a disgusting name. And what kind of fool calls characters such a stupid name?
Who's Dante?
Yes, one shitty character from one shitty game is not worth your attention.
Don't you get it? We're inhuman. No one cares about
The
us.
dude can do free heating in the apartment with his hands and warm up the hook in his hands, and outwardly you can't even see from him that he is some kind not like everyone else. What is he complaining about? I don't understand. Kamala was taken prisoner and placed right next to the intercom screen so that she could easily eavesdrop on all their malicious plans. Not only did Natasha find out from somewhere that Kamala was taken prisoner, she also somehow understood her exact location.
If you're running the show, what's the end game?
That may have worked with Taskmaster. Stupid enough to fill in a place for you going on.
Okay, let me take a step. You and George are using Inhumans for your adaptoids. That regenerative formula keeps them alive just long enough for you to harvest their powers.
That's part of it. But I have grander aspirations.
I won't tell you my malicious plans, but if you make a guess, I'll tell you if you guess correctly or not. Are Marvel villains generally able to just keep quiet?
Replacing the Avengers.
Not everything's about you.
The box offices of Infinity War and Endgame can argue with you.
Somewhere safe. You can't have all my toys.
Of course, people are toys to you.
No, not toys.
You just call them toys yourself. To cosplay the same scene from the first Iron Man without much needing for it. Done. What was the problem with flying your Chimera somewhere outside the city and flying into the city on those planes of yours? Well, like outside the city, if someone had crashed the ship of yours like that, all that would have suffered was a bunch of trees and a couple of animals. These are slightly smaller victims than it could be with such a fall.
Cap smashed the reactor.
And somehow managed to survive. In the battle between Iron Man and Hulk, we will not participate either in a role of Iron Man or in a role of Hulk. We won't even look at it from the outside. They fuck around somewhere behind the scenes.
I just want to talk to my dad.
Calling Yusuf Khan.
No, don't, Jarvis, I didn't mean to.
Hello? Beta, is that you?
Jarvis called her dad from his system, which is not signed with name Kamala on Yusuf's phone, but he still instantly realized that it was Kamala, even though she didn't even make a sound feel now.
Altitude, dry ice.
Yeah, especially when you're wearing an airtight mask.
Jarvis, get Pym on the phone. We need a way to get up to this space lab. He's the only one who can help.
You apparently forgot that one of your team members is Flying God, who can easily be in space. And what in the end, Thor will fly to them there to rescue Tony. Why was it impossible to do this initially? Now we need to disable this giant robot so that after that, with the help of Pym particles, we can reduce it and use it to travel into space. And I have here only one exciting question haunting me. Why the hell didn't you wait for Pym to come with his shrink laser and shrink this robot so you don't have to fight it for an extra long time?
I loaded up some music to give you a little boost.
Oh no.
Don't worry, it's not mine.
Let me guess, it won't be Back in Black again. Well, of course not it. AC/DC apparently asked too much money for their licenses. Since when has Captain America been able to break the laws of physics and push off the air in jump time? Someone was too lazy to change the animation, and therefore a half-naked Cap somewhere from his insides take an invisible shield in order to throw it at the enemy. This whole segment with an escape from spinning spaceship is very cool. Iron Man was stuck in a non-working spaceship and was preparing to die when he was rescued at the last moment by a flying superhero who can breathe in space. Familiar story.
You're alive. I knew it!
Kamala reacts to the resurrection of the Captain much more emotionally than the Black Widow, who showed no emotions of surprise at all when she saw him. For this confrontation, the Avengers need to grin a little. Or rather, it's how lucky someone can find these resources on very first additional quest, and someone will have to shovel a dozen of them. I was a little more lucky, it took me only an hour to search for this, but still is unpleasant. As soon as I had the opportunity to throw Kamala off the team and take someone else in her place, I immediately did it. But even without being with us inside the mission, she still did not stop wagging her tongue. Mass Effect back in 2007 managed to make unique dialogues depending on the members of the crew. This game of 2020 did not cope such a titanic task. The Avengers are too lazy to move with their legs, and therefore in a flying character climb onto a hard to reach object, they simply teleport to it because obviously Widow and Hulk can now do this. Turning off the power of the capsule, opening its doors. We need to destroy each part of the ship one by one in order to disable it, and this must be done by climbing on top of it. And at least non-flying characters can jump to it with the help of anti-gravity platforms. It's not very convenient to do this, but it will switch between the character for the duration of this battle, like in some kind of Dragon Age engine. Cap's shield throwing allows him to stay in the air indefinitely. The final mission came and said to all our costumes and choices of costumes, "Fuck you, Tony!" and chose for us for the all characters costume that we did not find anywhere and did not craft anywhere.
Aren't you gonna say the thing?
What?
You know, Avengers Assemble.
Yeah, we don't really say that.
Thanks to the game Avengers for depriving us of this iconic phrase of the Avengers. This villain's off-screen speech while sneaking into his lair cliché. Many thanks to the wonderful partner Kamala, who was too tired to run up and rescue me. So we defeated the MODOK in a very good boss fight. The credits roll, after which of course they show the scene after the credits, in which there is a MODOK's woman, which we got away but somehow she got free. But we will find out already sometime there in some kind of sequel, or maybe in the Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't know, I haven't played them yet. But in order not to miss the videos of the guards in the future, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like, repost and all of this.